Well, earlier today's show, you heard from Teach for America's Executive Director, Tia Morris, and Regional Board Member Kevin Pemberton about how AI is helping expand opportunities and enhancing education. During the conversation, NYC content creator Ashley Masternardi asked them how they're ensuring students are using AI responsibly. Here's what they had to say.
This question you raise is a very important one, because when we think about the reason why many educators may shy away, or some educators may shy away from AI, it is likely out of fear that students are cheating, students might be using it. Are they actually writing their papers? The thing is, innovation can't exist in an environment of fear. We can't let fear dictate how we move, and we can't let that be the thing that stops our communities from advancing. And so while there are instances in which students may leverage AI in ways that aren't the most beneficial, there are a number of safeguards that can be put in place. So, for example, if a teacher introduces AI in a responsible way to the classroom from the beginning, then a student doesn't have to lie, they don't have to sneak. The teacher can say, you know what, you can leverage ChatGPT to help you formulate an outline, right? Because that could be something that could help them to transform some words that they have into an outline, and then they can use that themselves to build it out into an essay. There are numerous programs that sort of monitor how much of an essay or how much of something is computer generated, but I'd like to not lead from the orientation of fear. I like to lead from the orientation of how do we more socialize this? How do we help students to leverage this as a tool? How do we help students to see this as an aid and not something that they have to sneak and do? And similarly, how do we make sure that parents understand this as well? So when students are home and they're doing homework, a parent can understand how they might leverage it or not. And so I think it starts with, again, building that comfort, building that dexterity, understanding how you integrate it into the fabric of the classroom, as opposed to making it this sort of add-on thing that a student has to sort of sneak and do on the side.
And we're talking about the classroom on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. How can leaders help to impact education?
Well, one, I first believe it's a partnership, right? I think about, AI and robotics and now you think about automation. Recently, the World Economic Forum had mentioned that there's about 14, if you will, million that will be displaced, if you will, with AI. But on the flip side of that, I see the opportunity, right? At the same time, there's 69, million jobs, being added, right? And so, when I think about, students who are not prepared, to be competent in math and in science, it's not a classroom issue. That's an economic one, right? And so we need to think about how do we build an adaptive workforce, and it starts early. And then secondly, if we think about the workforce and the pipeline of the future, it begins within the investment today, because today's students are tomorrow's innovators, tomorrow's CEOs, tomorrow's disruptors, right? And also adding value from a shareholder perspective, if we are really talking about that, an investment perspective for companies. And so we need students. New York City needs students. It builds a stronger economy and a better New York.
New York is a finance and tech hub. That's undeniable. And if we look at the career trajectory over the last maybe 10 years, tech has been the fastest or one of the fastest growing industries in New York. And so how are we preparing young people for those jobs? Because it is not merely an education issue. It really is an issue for our economy. If we want a strong New York economy, we actually need to have a strong workforce, strong leaders, and that begins with strong classrooms. And that's what we're building here. You can't have strong classrooms. You can't have strong technology leaders. You can't have strong AI innovators if you don't have strong STEM skills. So science, technology, engineering, and math, those are the key areas. And so we at Teach for America New York are focused on 8th grade math, because we don't want to wait till they get to high school, wait till they get to college. We want to intervene as early as possible to make sure that they have strong footing, are on solid ground, and that they can compete, that they're prepared for the rigors of the high-level math and science classes in high school and college, and that they can compete in industry and really just be the next generation of leaders that we need here in New York.
And I just want to touch on something you said earlier. You said that you see students as the most brilliant versions of themselves. How does that help empower students that you work with?
I've been privileged to spent the last nearly 30 years working in education, and the first, decade of that in classrooms. And I had so many students who society, community, the world would have counted them out as statistics. But I saw something within them. I saw a light within them. I saw a fire within them. I saw a passion within them. Not even potential, because potential means that maybe something is not missing, something's missing, or something's not realized. I saw power within them. And I think if each of our educators can see every single one of our students, not even just educators, it's each of us in this city, in this state, can see every single young person as the potential next leader, the potential next mayor, the potential next governor, the potential next CEO. If we can see that passion, that power, that fire within them, then we can cultivate that. We can stoke that so that they can believe it themselves. And eventually it will be true. And so I believe that it's up to us to plant those seeds, to nurture those seeds, and to help those seeds grow into the community that we all want and deserve for our young people.